Hey, what's up, YouTube? Well, I know that sun might be a little bright, but that's just what happens when you make a video in the morning. And first of all, I'd like to start off by saying that I took some really cool pictures of the moon yesterday, both in the daytime and at night. And it's just amazing how it worked out in such a way that I was actually out there with my telescope when I got in the bag that I had ordered to put it in. Oh my goodness. It's got a nice little compartment to put stuff in the front, and you can fit both the tripod and the telescope. So I couldn't be more excited about that. It was amazing how this UPS man suddenly came to the porch, because I was wondering how they were going to fit it in the mailbox. But now I guess I know, and it smells so nice. I've been needing a bag to put my telescope in should I ever bring it to my mom's house. So there I was on the porch with my telescope, and suddenly this man comes by and, see, I get that out the way. He's a UPS man, and he has the package containing my telescope bag. And I told him, I'm like, wow, this is amazing because this package contains a bag for this telescope. And so, I couldn't have been more pleased with the way that turned out. So, I don't know. I really wish I could stop ordering things online, but, that was a necessity. I guess it's a lot better than another Rugrats doll. It's just so much more useful. And really and truly, if I were a normal person, I wouldn't have all these dolls, and I would save my money for stuff like that. But I don't know, I just can't let go of certain things because it's almost like I don't know how to explain it. Yes, I could sell or give away, which I would never give away. Okay. Yes, I could sell my dolls. But what I couldn't sell or get rid of would be the memories of having such things. There would be a hole in my heart where I happen to remember that those dolls used to be in my life for so long. So I don't know. I wish I were not so sentimental, but that's just how I am. And, like I've talked about on my last video, what makes that Angelica special is because she's basically the only doll I ever got when I was in junior high. Like, I did not get one other doll, not a single one, when I was in grades 6 through 8, okay? And it was due to a number of things. I was just, that's probably the time in my life when I was least interested in dolls. Because for one thing, I wanted to be a boy at a subconscious level. For another, I associated dolls mostly with my little sister, and they had been removed from my bedroom, and I think that contributed to that time in my life being so depressing. But that one Angelica doll is the only doll I received as a junior high student, and I talked about how she wasn't even initially bought for me. So I would never want to get rid of her, even if it was to trade her for a better version. Like, let's say the reboot causes Rugrat merchandise, including dolls, to once again be in the store. I still will have a hard time, even if I were to buy some additional dolls, wanting to part with what I originally had. And that's just because, she's just special. I guess like the doll that belongs to the character in the show. She's just special because she's the Angelica that I had during the time when the show was popular. And I don't really care that you can't strip her down nude. Or that if you pretended she was going to the bathroom like on a little toy potty thing, well, she'd have to do it with her clothes on, which is pretty weird. And I'd like to get a picture that I took of her and Chucky using this little plastic I think it's called Sour Flush, some little toilet, that had candy in it. But I'd rather not, go through the effort of trying to find that picture because I took it many years ago. So anyway, I'd rather not look into getting any more Rugrat dolls. And the only value that a reboot could really have, I think, would be if they started having such things in the stores once again. And, for a much more reasonable price than what you would find on eBay. So anyway, really, I don't need any more dolls. I don't need any more collectibles. I need useful things like this. And I really wish I had more space to put things. But anyway, what I'd like to talk about in this video, well, is something I've talked about before, just another subject that I'm obsessed with. And it's the symbolism of the moon in the daytime sky and why that is such a big deal to me, or why I am somewhat obsessed with it. And it has to do with the fact that, well, it's more the symbolic reason, the symbolic meaning that nobody seems to understand of the moon in the daytime sky and what that represents to me. Okay, now of course other people could interpret things way differently, but I just have really deep philosophical thoughts about a lot of things that I can't really share with anyone because they'd probably say it's ridiculous. But when I see the moon in the daytime sky, okay, what that symbolizes is something, it's not an anomaly, okay? Because as I've stated before, the moon could not possibly care less what time it comes out, okay? Just like the sun, it gets roughly 12 hours in the sky. And that is true for every heavenly body, so to speak. Everything that you can see from Earth is in the sky for about 12 hours, give or take. Okay? Now, whether that is 12 hours of daylight or night depends on how much opposition it has to the Earth. Okay? So, as I've stated before, the moon can rise or set at any time of day. There is no time of day when the moon cannot rise or set. And it all has to do with where the moon is in relation to the Earth, which a picture is worth 1,000 words. So it can rise or set at any time of day or night. But you hardly ever see paintings. Like this camera is propped up on a can, a Christmas popcorn can that I washed out and would like to reuse. And right now I'm looking at this beautiful painting around the can, and it has a full moon in the winter sky with Santa Claus riding a train, an old-timey train. Okay, and you see a lot of paintings, a lot of images where they put a moon in the nighttime sky. But very few, if any, I can't really think of any, where someone paints a moon in the daytime sky. And the reason is because it's overlooked in the daytime. Like I say, it's just as likely to be out in the daytime. It spends just as much time in the daytime sky over the course of a month as it does in the nighttime sky. And the crescent moon is actually out more in the daytime than the night. Okay, but the symbolic meaning of it, the moon in the daytime sky, is something that is not an anomaly, but goes unnoticed simply because it doesn't fit into the agenda that people have. People, it's not that people don't want to believe that the moon can be out in the daytime. It's just that it doesn't serve the purpose that it does at night, okay? You see, basically, I mean, it still is in the sky and it does shine, but it doesn't shine as brightly against a light blue background as it does against a black one. Okay? So here you have this moon, it's out any time of day or night. Okay, but it only gets credit, so to speak, in paintings and, various things for being out at night, for the simple reason that the sun dominates the sky in the daytime to the point where the moon often gets mistaken for a little tiny piece of cloud in the sky. Okay, and it's almost like, I don't know, it's like a lesson that I see that other people don't, and it's just so profound that I hope I don't cry in this video when I try to explain it. It symbolizes for me, you see, I always think of like the sun is the masculine entity and the moon represents femaleness and femininity, because the sun has 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and football. I thought that quote was so cool when I saw that one time. Whereas the moon has a 28-day cycle, or 29, or whatever. So the moon is feminine and the sun is masculine. And the lesson I see when I look at the moon, I mean, it can rise or set any time of day. Like I say, it can be just like the sun. It can rise and set with the sun. But the more it tries to be like the sun, meaning, rising and setting at the same time as the sun, the less visible it is in the sky. Okay? Think about that. The further it gets away from the sun, meaning like the full moon, rising at sunset and setting at sunrise, the bigger and brighter it is and the more people take note of it. And to me, that represents, women, females. It's like, we spend just as much time, doing things that you could classify as masculine. I mean, seriously, what is masculine behavior? Anything could be seen as masculine, I guess, as long as it isn't feminine. You know what I'm saying? So, and it just represents women in general, because it's like, yes, we can try to be like a man. We can pretty much become a man, so to speak, with the help of testosterone. And for many years, I thought I would want that, okay? But in doing so, we lose something. And that something is visibility. And that's where I get the urge to cry. Because it's like, we could pretty much do everything that a man does. Get up, go to work, and just be exactly like a man. I could grow a big Santa Claus beard if I wanted to on testosterone. But in doing so, we cease to be recognized as women, okay? And that is where the power is lost. It's like we're no longer serving our purpose. We're no longer being what we were created to be and doing what we were made to do, okay? So yeah, it'll never be the sun, but it can be out at the same time as the sun. But when it does that, unless there's a solar eclipse, which is extremely rare, meaning the moon gets like right in front of the sun, it becomes invisible when it's in conjunction with the sun. So yeah, the smaller the moon, the more time it spends out in the daytime. The bigger the moon, the more time it spends out at night, because it's orbiting over the dark side of the earth. See, I mean, the simple explanation is that the far side of the moon is lit up to the same extent as the earth, okay? The sun shines on both, okay? So when the far side is getting all the light is when the moon is out only in the daytime. Therefore, it's a new moon. The near side is getting none of the light. And the reverse is true with the full moon, in that the far side isn't getting light, and neither is the side of the earth that is facing the moon. So, it's just, I don't know. It's just, to me, that's profound. I mean, no one else has really analyzed it in that way, to my knowledge. But yeah, it's like, and it's always pointing in the very, like the curved part of the moon is always pointing to the sun, basically. So it's smiling at night, as the sun shines up from beneath the horizon, but then it's frowning in the daytime because the sun is shining down on it or looking down on it. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's just profound. Like, I don't know, why no one else has ever thought of it that way. But yeah, it's like basically, and it just reminds me of myself, that's why no one seems to want to watch my videos. No one seems to want to have anything to do with me, pretty much, in real life or on the internet, unless my mom calls. Pretty much no one wants to have anything to do with me other than, my immediate family. And that has a lot to do with the fact that I'm just not what people want to see. I mean, I'm a woman, but I'm just not really, what turns people on. And the same way that people only want to draw the moon in the nighttime sky, they only want to draw women in a stereotypically feminine way, so to speak. Or they want them to have some femininity. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more masculine a woman is, the less visible she becomes. People want to think of women as being feminine, even to the point of not having bodily functions, which I've talked about in so many videos that it's ridiculous, and it just reminds me of the moon. It's like it is just as likely to be out in the daytime as it is to be out at night. I cannot express that enough. Okay? So, somehow or another, but people only want to think of it as being out in the night, just like they want to think that women are just inherently feminine, just automatically feminine. If you're a woman, you're feminine. You're not necessarily masculine if you're a man, but if you're a woman, you're just automatically feminine and heterosexual and just everything, that people stereotypically believe about women. So yeah, it's like I could live as a male, so to speak, but then I'd also be losing my right to, say that I'm a woman, so to speak. Like if people said like women take forever to get ready, I'd be like, no, they don't. I hardly take any time at all to get ready. They'd be like, well, of course you don't. You're a man. You see, that's what I'd be giving up. I wouldn't be able to speak on the experience of women because I'd be seen as a man. And I'd be less visible, which that has always been the threat to women like me. Invisibility, and why people want to seek it out so much. I don't understand, why so many people like me just want to unanimously just decide that they're men and just give up their visibility like that. But, that's just the way I see it. It's symbolic. It's the symbolic meaning of the moon in the daytime sky.